The world's oldest recipes are not found in leather-bound cookbooks or on fragile parchment. They are carved with meticulous precision into damp clay. For nearly 4 millennia, one such recipe has survived, pressed into a clay tablet excavated from the ruins of ancient Mesopotamia. This is not a simple instruction set for survival. It is a meticulously crafted document of luxury, a gastronomic clue left by a civilization that codified its laws and its desserts with equal seriousness. We are looking at a recipe for a Babylonian date cake, a sweet confection intended for the elite, a dish of profound historical weight. Why did the Babylonians expend such effort to record this particular formula in enduring cuneiform? What does this luxurious blend of dates, fat, and rare spices tell us about their world? The dish appears deceptively simple on the surface, but the resources required to create it were anything but. It is a historical anomaly, a piece of ephemeral pleasure made permanent by the same hands that charted the stars and built the ziggurats. Today,
Autopsy.
we are analyzing this historical menu as an autopsy of power. To understand the date cake is to perform a social autopsy on the Babylonian table. This dessert wasn't a product of subsistence. It was a testament to resource management and social stratification. Our primary evidence comes from the archaeological record and, crucially, from the cuneiform tablets themselves. As historian Jean-Jacques Glasner notes in his work on Mesopotamian texts, the act of writing down a recipe elevates the dish from transient daily fare to a matter of state and tradition, often reflecting the menu of the temple or the palace. The ingredients alone delineate the power structure. The core component, dates, were locally abundant in Mesopotamia, yet their use here, combined with other rare elements, signals conspicuous consumption. The recipe calls for specific animal fats, likely clarified butter or rare ghee, an expense and a logistical challenge in a hot climate. But the real markers of elite status are the spices. The text mentions ingredients that would have required robust long-distance trade networks: coriander, anise, and possibly imported cardamom or cinnamon, substances which flowed through the complex inter-regional trade routes linking the Persian Gulf to the Mediterranean. The person eating this cake was connected to the known world. The person preparing it was subservient to that connection. This meal was not the work of a single casual cook. The preparation of a feast, even a small, elite one, required organized, skilled labor. The temple or palace kitchens operated under strict resource allocation protocols. The person sourcing the high-quality dates, the person clarifying the fat, and the person ensuring the precise grinding of the valuable spices were all part of a structured economic and social hierarchy. The mere complexity of the instructions suggests a literate, specialized culinary staff, often slaves or skilled servants, whose work reinforced the lord's status. The sheer volume of fuel required for the ancient ovens and the time investment in processing raw, unrefined materials, grinding grains by hand, pitting hundreds of dates, meant that this cake was not merely food. It was a deliberate display of wealth and control over labor. It advertised the consumer's distance from the physical toil required to put it on the table. This leads us to the concept of archaeological evidence confirming the textual evidence. Dr. Jane McMahon's analysis of feasting remains in Sumerian cities, for instance, frequently reveals a highly disproportionate ratio of expensive cuts of meat and specialized non-staple goods at elite burial sites or palace dumps compared to common dwellings. The date cake fits perfectly into this pattern, a non-essential luxury item, labor-intensive, and composed of ingredients that spoke a silent language of economic might. The dish was a political statement baked into a sweet treat. Now the role shifts from the sage analyzing the text to the explorer attempting to revive it. The challenge here is immense, for the cuneiform recipe is not a modern precise instruction set. It is a series of cryptic, almost poetic commands that require a deep understanding of ancient material culture, a classic case of reverse taphonomy. We must transition from an academic reconstruction to a tangible, experiential process. The recipe, in its rough translation, instructs the cook to mix finely ground emmer flour with dates, fat, and spices, then bake them in a kiln. The first logistical hurdle is the flour itself. Unlike modern white flour, the emmer wheat available in Mesopotamia was highly fibrous and required laborious hand grinding using a saddle corn. The resultant flour is less refined, lower in gluten, and requires careful hydration. Our recreation demanded hours of processing to achieve the required fineness, giving us a true appreciation for the time cost of this ancient luxury. Next, the fat. We used rendered sheep's tail fat, a rich, semi-solid substance likely common in Babylonian cuisine, rather than easily accessible modern butter. Its distinct flavor and texture drastically alter the finished product compared to anything made with conventional fats. Blending this fat with the date paste is not a simple whisking action. It requires the kind of forceful, sustained hand mixing that speaks volumes about the caloric output of the kitchen staff. The dates themselves posed a subtle but critical challenge. Mesopotamian dates would have been naturally cured and sun-dried, sweeter and denser than many modern imported varieties. We had to ensure our dates were thoroughly macerated into a thick paste, the foundation that binds the cake together and provides the bulk of the sweetness. The text only says to blend well, a simple command that in a world without electric blenders means significant physical exertion and judgment. The final and most intriguing challenge is the ancient oven. The Babylonian baking kiln, a tanur, or domed-shaped oven, operates at fluctuating, high heat, unlike a modern calibrated appliance. Baking these cakes required guesswork, monitoring the color and smell, the true mark of a skilled ancient baker. We shaped the mixture into small, dense rounds, the size dictated by the need for quick, thorough cooking in the kiln, and placed them on ceramic shards, which served as baking sheets. As the cakes baked, the aroma of rendered fat and warming spices filled the air, a scent that hasn't really been experienced for 4,000 years. The spices, which were so expensive that they functioned as a form of currency, are what define the elite nature of this dessert. In this hands-on process, we become the ancient cook, sweating by the kiln, keenly aware of the cost of every ingredient and the value of every movement. This is the exploration segment, feeling the weight of the history in our hands, recognizing the sheer logistical difficulty of moving from raw components to finished delicacy. This simple cake is a dense, high-calorie artifact that required not just ingredients, but infrastructure, trade routes, and a subservient labor force.
The subject is dense, rich, and undeniably dark.
The final taste of the reconstructed Babylonian date cake is the final piece of evidence in our autopsy. It is dense, intensely sweet, and savory from the rich animal fat, cut sharply by the lingering warmth of the spices. Critically, it is not the light, fluffy dessert of modern baking. It is a caloric powerhouse, a highly concentrated source of energy and luxury. The mouthfeel and flavor confirm the historical analysis. This was not a treat for the common farmer engaged in daily toil. This was the food of rulers, merchants, and priests, a food designed to be preserved, substantial, and indicative of access to unparalleled wealth. The revelation is that the recipe's complexity and cost were the true ingredients. By requiring expensive imports and intense labor, the date cake functioned as a tangible marker of status. Eating this dessert was a political act, a quiet affirmation of the Babylonian elite's place at the apex of the social and economic pyramid. The sweet flavor masked a bitter reality. The cake was literally flavored by the network of trade, agriculture, and servitude that maintained their supremacy. We have not just tasted a 4,000-year-old dessert, we have decoded the invisible power structure behind it. The humble clay tablet didn't just preserve a recipe, it preserved the story of Babylonian power dynamics. We don't just cook ancient food, we decode the civilizations behind them.